Hello crafty peeps, Itza Thoughts here, and I'm here to share with you guys a mixed media tutorial on how to create a similar um, canvas similar to this one. The only difference is going to be the process of the dress. On this particular mixed media page, I added her dress with used baby wipes. Normally when I am working on a mixed media canvas, I have baby wipes or paper towels aside to wipe up any excess color sprays or anything like that, and it's those baby wipes that I repurpose to create art, so that none of my color sprays or inks or anything like that go to waste. And that's what I did here. This whole dress here is just that, baby wipes, and then they're just adhered with tons of medium gel. So that's the only difference on this canvas that we're going to work here, and the image is different. I do have this particular image available for anybody that wants to use it. Just send me a message on Facebook and I'll gladly email you a copy of this particular image. So this is somewhat of what the canvas is going to look like. So let's get started. And I'm using a 14 by 18 inch canvas board. And I like using these canvas boards simply because these can be then mounted onto a frame and hung up with a nice frame. So that's the only advantage that I see to these flat panel canvas boards, that and the fact that they might be a little bit cheaper to purchase than the regular canvases. So this is going to be a Gone Artsy tutorial.
Hi, sweetie, how are you? Did you find out my balance? 3 shirts? Okay. So 3 shirts. I'm gonna start, it's my last order with 5 foot. I need a 16.5 wide. Kindly, the smallest length here. So 4 shirts. I'll pay you right now for the 4 gills. No, 32, 32, right? So I'm gonna pay you 4 shirts right now. Get it over. So we'll be here. On the white, I need about 10 more. You have all sizes, no? The basics, no? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I'm in my shop, so occasionally I'll have a phone call or a customer walking in or whatnot. But this is the image that we're going to be using for today's Ustream class. And I have already colored her. I have provided you guys with both my colored image and my sketched image, so that for those of you who might not be so familiar with coloring in dolls like this, you guys already have the colored image available for you guys. So the first step usually that you do when you're creating a mixed media project is to give your canvas or your surface one quick layer of gesso, which I did ahead of time. And once that's dry, you're ready to get started. So what I did with my image when I cut her out, she's a little bit different than my sketch. As I was coloring her and trying to figure out how to work the skirt and all of that, I made a slight change and gave her like an updo kind of hairdo instead of the long hair flowing. So that's one of the changes. And also, as I'm cutting her out, I cut out this portion of this part of her arm, so that if I need to get stuff in here or whatnot, I have the ability to pick her arm up and down and position her as needed. I also added a little line down the back with some buttons, just to give it a little more interest, a little more realistic look to the image. So as you're getting started, you want to first position her approximately where you're going to be working, so that you don't unnecessarily put color and all kinds of stuff to your background when it's going to be covered up. Normally I don't do this process when I'm adding pictures like this, but for this particular mixed media canvas, I did position her ahead of time and kind of played around with the skirt and how I'm going to be putting the skirt down, so that this whole space here is just going to be all covered up. So I'm not going to waste any of my color sprays or anything like that trying to color this portion up. And since I did print her, I did color her onto watercolor paper. Watercolor paper tends to be a little thick, so after I'm done, I colored her and I cut her out. I got my black Sharpie and I just went along the edges just to cover any white edges that are left over when you cut her out. If you're putting her on regular office everyday paper, that's fine. You just want to make sure that you mount her on top of either another sheet of paper or cardstock. This gives your image a little bit more stability. So this is the image, and all I did was put little dots around the area where I'm going to be covering up, so that I don't unnecessarily waste any materials. So for this particular canvas, I'm going to be using these beautiful flower rosettes that I got from the Gone Artsy Zip It store. I'm going to be using these, and I'm also going to be using these this flower trim from the shop. I'm going to be using this rosette and pearl really dainty trim, and I'm going to be using these blings from the shop also. So these are the items that I'm going to be using from the Gone Artsy store, and I'm also going to be using possibly some seam binding, which Deb has a lot of beautiful colors to select from in the seam binding, and she has a very excellent price that she sells these seam bindings for. So make sure that you guys stop by the shop and check it out. So we're going to be using those items for her skirt, and for my background I'm going to be using this stencil, and this is a stencil from Kaiser Craft, I believe. I don't remember the item number or the name of the stencil, so you guys might want to just look around and do some research on that. I don't have it. I've had this for a while, so I don't have the packaging anymore. I'm going to be using this stencil, and I'm also going to be using this script stencil, and this is the Art Is script stencil. I believe it's also I don't remember where I got this stencil, to be honest, but I'm going to be using a script stencil. So these are my two stencils that I will be using. I'm also going to be using this rose stamp, And this is just one of those bargain bin stamps from Michael's. And I'm gonna be using some of my favorite um, gel medium. I'm gonna be using some modeling paste. When you use modeling paste, you're gonna be using some kind of spatula or knife. And I'm gonna be using, this is one of my homemade uh, color sprays, and all this is water with some ink, watercolor paste. And I'm using the same watercolor paste that I used to color my image, and I'm going to be using this. So this is one. I'm going to be using some of the Lindy sprays. This is Alphine Eyes Rose, and this is Cockbell's Coral. I'll be using those. And I like to add some black to my canvases. And this is Black Orchid Silver and Midnight Rendivorous Raven. So possibly these two. And I have some folk art paint. And this is a glitter paint, and it is Paradise Pink number 2960 folk art paint. And some Dilutions white linen ink spray, and some distress paint, and this is Abandoned Coral. I'm really loving this color. I've used it in quite a few projects already. So these are the items that we're going to be playing with. Oh, and possibly some tissue paper, and some tissue paper that I have here. And this is just regular tissue paper that you would put in your gifts or whatnot. It's just regular white tissue paper. And I like using white tissue paper because once you adhere it with your gel medium, it becomes translucent. So that's the fun thing about using tissue paper. So we're going to need your hot glue gun, possibly some scissors, and what else? I think that's about it for my supplies. Really simple, really fun and easy process. So I really hope that you guys enjoy this mixed media class and are able to incorporate some of these techniques into your projects. So we're gonna get started. And please excuse my voice. I'm trying to get over a cold and it's kind of beating me up. So to begin with, like I said, you position your image roughly to where you're gonna put her, and ahead of time I just kind of got my rosettes, cut them up and kind of put them in place. Make sure that you stretch them out so they're as big as you can possibly get them. You kind of want to stretch them out like so, and roughly position them so that you have an idea of what you're working with. And this is what I did. So roughly she's going to be looking something like this. And for this size canvas and for the size that she is, I'm using 12, roughly 12 rosettes. And then since there's gaps here, I'm going to be using this rosette trim as fillers, where I'm just going to kind of fill in whatever gaps are there. And because this has become very much so one of my favorite flower trims, because it's so easy to play with, I only have a small amount to play with for this canvas. But I'm not too worried, because the bottom parts here that are left bare, I'm going to fill these areas in with tissue paper. So I'm not too worried about that. And this is roughly what her skirt is going to look like. It's going to change in color because I'm going to be doing some color sprays. And then what you want to do is you want to take a pencil, marker, whatever, and just kind of put little dots where she's going to be positioned, so that you know roughly the space that you have to create your background. So this is roughly what it's going to look like. Can you guys see that? Let me turn her on so you guys can get a better look. And it's just really pretty, really dimensional. And if you can possibly find a shadow box the size of your canvas, you can incorporate her into a shadow box and then add some elements, like if it's for a wedding, or if it's for a sweet 16 or some type of event like that. You can always add a picture into the shadow box, add some flowers, just make it really girly, really pretty. And because I love bling, I'm going to be incorporating the bling into the skirt. So this is going to be the first process of creating your canvas. And you're just going to remove all your little bits and pieces, put them aside, put your image aside, and now you can get started on the background. Now the background is super easy. I'm going to be using gray also. This is just regular acrylic paint. And I'm not even going to use a brush. I'm going to use my palette knife to add my color. And I'm just going to randomly just start adding some color to my canvas with my knife, just randomly. And remember, the trick to mixed media is layers. So you're going to be using different layers of different colors into your projects. So if it doesn't look awesome the moment you start creating it, don't worry, it will. You just keep building up your layers. And there's no right or wrong way. You can just play with it, have fun with it, don't be scared. That's basically how I got a lot of my mixed media projects done, just by experimenting and going for it. Okay, so let me bring back my original piece, where you can see here there really wasn't much work done to the background. The only thing that mainly pops out is the stencil here, the stenciling I did here. I did do stenciling all around my page, but it got colored up, so you can't really see it, but You can feel it. You can see it in person, but I don't think the camera truly captures that there's texture done to the page here. Okay. So I've added my first layer of color. And if you don't have a craft knife like this, it's okay. You can use a butter knife, a plastic butter knife. You can use a stick. Doesn't really matter. You're just trying to build up your texture. Okay. And I'm going to come in with my distress paint. And add it. And so this is my second layer. At the end of your process, your first couple of layers might not even be seen. But then you have to ask yourself, would I have accomplished this look had I not added the first couple of layers? You just will never know. Okie dokie. Okay. Oh, seems I spilled a little. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to begin with my first layer of stenciling. I just have to make sure this is dry. I think this is what takes the longest. It's just basically the dry process. But acrylic paint tends to dry relatively fast. Okay, so before I do my stenciling, I am going to adhere my tissue paper to the bottom portion of my paper so that it starts to dry. Okay. Just gonna crinkle it up a little bit. And there's nothing neat about this. I'm not gonna, try to lay it flat. I want it to be bumpy and so you're gonna get your brush. You're gonna get your medium gel And you're going to be very generous with it. Probably spread it out a little bit better if I use my knife. Okay. Just scrunch it up. Not too much. I only want it in the bottom portion. And this is the same technique that I used when I applied my baby wipes to my original image. Same process, nice and scrunchy. Just gonna go over it with some of that leftover medium. Just pounce it in. Okie dokie. Okay. So I'm gonna give this some time to air dry by itself while I work on the top portion of it. Okay. Just gonna turn this around. You can see here how I added the tissue paper. It's grungy, it has a lot of texture, and that's what I'm going for. This is going to be the bottom portion of my skirt. So now I can start applying my layers of modeling paste onto my stencil. So I'm going to offset. We have one down. You guys don't have the rosettes, you can totally do the skirt just using tissue paper the same way I just showed you guys, or baby wipes, or dryer sheets. Those three items will always give you awesome texture. If you're using tissue paper, you can also use decorative tissue paper. I know there's beautiful tissue paper out there that has flowers or polka dots, stripes, but not. So those also are fabulous to use in projects like this. Okay, there's another one. I think I'm gonna add maybe bar it up, just half of one here. Yeah, you can use cheesecloth. That's also a good idea. Cheesecloth, and then that way you can create your own color, make it the color that you want, and it gives it great texture. You can also use fabric, but depending on the kind of fabric you use, it's just really fun to experiment. There's many different ways that you can accomplish the same look. For the baby wipe technique, what I did is once the baby wipes are dry, I take a stamp and I stamped some flower images onto it, and then I colored it. I colored the image with acrylic paint, and that's how I got it to be that color with that design. So it's really just interesting to just go out there and play and use items that you have in different ways. You would have never imagined that you can incorporate your baby wipes and your dryer sheets into your crafty projects. So there we have it. Let me just go rinse off my stencil. Okay. So let's try this baby out. For your texture paste, you do want to make sure that it's fully dry, because otherwise you're most likely to smudge it up, or um, possibly, just mess it up in the process of you adding your other layers. So you might want to just dry it really good beforehand. Do you guys have any questions before we keep going forward? Okay, it's fairly dry. Okay. Okay, it's fairly dry. I'm not gonna mess with it too much. Okay, so let's see. Now I'm just gonna bring my image back. Just to roughly have a look. Okay, that looks cute. Okay. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and start adding my layers of color sprays, and I like to start with my lightest color first. So let's shake these babies up, and I'm starting with the Alpine Ice Rose, and this is a Starburst. Just randomly start adding my colors. Now you see how it's spilled on my table here. This is a good time for you guys to get those baby wipes and start wiping it off. But since I don't have baby wipes, I'm just going to use my tissue paper to kind of clean it off. Okay, so one layer down of color sprays, and then I'm going with my Cobwebs Coral. Oh, sprayer got stuck. Okay, so this is my homemade dry that up. You want to dry after like 1 or 2 layers of color spray, because if you don't dry them, they start gathering up and becoming a little muddy. So drying is very important with color sprays. You want to get some drippage action. Tilt your canvas a little bit and let some of the color sprays drip down. Hi, Rhonda. Hi, everyone else. Thanks for joining us. Okay, let's see. Somewhat dry. Okay, you come back with your image and you keep checking. Keep checking roughly how it's looking. Okay. I'm going to do some stamping here with my rose stamp. And for stamping, I'm going to use Stays On because you're using wet materials here and you don't want it to smudge. Now some of your stamping will get covered with the more layers of color that you add, so keep that in mind and don't be discouraged. Oops. Okay. I also have this world stamp. I think this is from Stampendous. I'm just not sure which one, the name of it. I'm not going for a perfect stamp here, a stamped image. I'm just going to adding my layers of texture onto my canvas. Not really striving for perfection here yet. Okay, so I'm gonna keep adding my color sprays. And this is the Midnight Rendezvous Raven. I'm coming back with my homemade pinkish color. And I'm just tilting my canvas up and sideways to let the color run on my canvas. And coming back with my heat tool to move some of that color around. Somebody trying to post links. I don't know why it's coming out as censored. Yeah, the image, I sketched it out. I'll show you guys my sketched out image in a bit. I actually sketched her out twice. I sketched her out first onto a regular copy paper, and then I sketched her out again on watercolor paper. Okay, so you guys can see here that my colors are coming through. You can see more pinks. You can still see some of the acrylic paint, but not very much. You can see like ghost images of the stamps that I did of the roses. And my tissue paper is still wet. Hi everybody, welcome to those that are just joining us. We are halfway into our canvas. I'll show you guys my sketch. Okay, so this is my original sketch. Excuse me. My original sketch here, which this is for my files, for my records. I have it already on hand. Whenever I need her again, just bring her out and print her out. So this is the original sketch. And then I colored her. And once I colored her, this is what she looks like. See? Only difference is that as I was trying to design the canvas, I kind of decided to cut her long hair off and give her a more of an updo kind of hairdo to go with her dress. Okay, so for those of you wondering, I did sketch her, and let's place her, and you guys can see how she is starting to come together. You guys see that? She's starting to come together nicely. Okay, so now the good thing about me doing this ahead of time is that I got a chance to completely give her a seal with my multi-medium gel, so that if anything happened during the process of the background, if I got ink on her or something, I can just wipe it off. So you want to protect your image as much as you can before you can add her to your canvas. So here she is, roughly, and I'm really liking the look of this. Okay, so I left a couple of white edges there. I'm just gonna go with my stamp, my ink pad, and just kind of color in the edges. Whoops. Uh-oh. Didn't see that coming. Just have to hold on to the ink pad. Just kind of trying to color in the sides. Okay. Okay. So I did want to add um, this script uh, to it, some script to it, and this is art is something other script, and I want the scripts to be white. So I'm just gonna come over with some gesso, not gesso, with some modeling paste, and add a layer of some script. Now, if you want to add color to your modeling paste, just have to get some modeling paste on the side, add whatever color you're adding to it, and mix it together. And you have colored modeling paste. I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to randomly add different parts of the script. And you could add it on top of the previous stenciling. Just scraping off whatever leftover modeling paste is in my knife here. Okay, let me go wash off my stencil. Be right back. Okay, so now I'm just gonna heat set that. Do you guys have any questions? On my image? What do you mean, what colors? How do I color her? Okay, let's see. For my image. Okay, now I colored her with a mixture of acrylic paints and watercolor. So in watercolor, I have, let's see, I brought them with me just in case. But it is a mixture of watercolors and, okay, here we are. Okay, for my fur, I see it's several layers of color on her skin to add shading and color effects and whatnot onto your image. So I normally start with watercolor pale orange, and this is the watercolor that I use first. You guys see that? Okay, so while she is still wet with my watercolor and everything, it's one layer on her whole skin with this watercolor, and then I come in with my acrylics. And for my acrylics, I usually use actually three different colors, and when they're still wet, they blend very nicely together. And this is a flesh tint, and this is a Winsor Newton Galleria acrylic, and this is what it looks like. And then it's also a mixture of buff titanium, and this is again a Winsor and Newton Galleria acrylic, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so it's a mixture of these three, and then to add some white highlights, I use Natural Buff, and this is Americana acrylic paint, and this one you can easily find at Michael's. Before I got these two other Winsor and Newton colors, I used to mainly use this one and this other one from Americana, and this is Buttermilk. I use these two, and depending on the shade of skin tone that I'm trying to accomplish, I either add like a little couple of drops of brown or a couple of drops of orange onto either one of these two colors. You mix them up until you get the right consistency that you want of the color tone. But I just recently started using these two. And the Winsor and Newton, you can find these at any art store. You can possibly ask Miriam from the Craft Source to see if she has these in her store. If not, she can possibly order these and carry these types of acrylic paints in her shop. You just really have to ask her if she would, if she has them, or if she can possibly find them for you at good prices. It's a really good buy, these two colors. But in watercolor, this is mainly the color that I use, and I give highlights and shades with the tones of brown and yellow and white. So for those of you who were wondering. And then for the skirt or the top part, I also used watercolor, and let's see. And this is the color I used. I like using the watercolor in tubes because you have the control of how much paint you let out, and you can again mix it with some water to make your own color sprays. And that's what I did here with this color that I've been using. So this is a Van Gogh watercolor tube, and the color is rose something. And this is what it looks like. That's what I used for her top and her lips. And this is just regular brown acrylic paint that I used for her hair. And then I just used my fine point marker, pen, to give her to outline her features. And that's how I colored her. And then I just got a Sharpie and went around the edges to color all the white part of the paper. Okay, so this is dry. Okay, so moving forward, I think at this point we're ready to start adhering our image and our rosette trims to create her skirt. And let's see, something happened to the video. Okay, is it still recording? Okay, it's still recording. Let's see if I could. Okay, I think it's still recording. Okay. Okay, so moving forward, you guys can still hear me and see me, right? It's still recording. Okay. I don't know, for some reason it said on my iPod that it stopped recording. Okay, so here's my image, and the tissue paper is fairly dry enough for me to come in and start adding some of my rosette trims. Okay, so again, this is the rosette trim that I'm going to be using from Deb's shop. Just want to make sure that I have her positioned correctly. Okay, so I normally don't glue my images down with hot glue, but for this particular one I am, because I'm using watercolor paper and it's gonna be really hard for me to completely adhere her nice and flat to my image, to my canvas. So I'm just gonna get some hot glue and start gluing her down. I'm not gonna glue her hands down just yet, just her body and her face. So that if I have to lift her arms up, I still have that ability to do that. Some of my markings are still slightly visible. Okay, so you can see I left her arm still fairly. Okay. Okay, so taking my trim, stretching it out as big as I can possibly get it. And I'm gonna position my rosettes first before I glue them down. I want it to look like she's lifting up part of her skirt or has her hand on some of her skirt. Okay, those look fine there. Just trying to make sure I don't have any gaps. We might use up a lot of hot glue sticks here, ladies. Rhonda, can you post the item number for these rosettes, please? Now all I did was just, they come in a strip, and all I did was just cut it, and I didn't cut the um, tulle like fabric that they come sewn on, because I like the added texture it gives to the canvas. Oops, phone. Identity help you. Was the mute color. They changed their mind, I suppose. Just randomly just trying to figure out how the layout's gonna be here. I'm also using this flower trim from the shop. I think this is item GA1, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so roughly this is what we're working with. And I'll turn her around to show you guys real quick what she's looking like. Can you guys see her? Just use your heat tool to burn off some of the stringies from the hot glue. Now, can you guys see, because we added the tissue at the bottom, it looks like it's a part of her skirt. Isn't that cool? Okay. So now to add the bling bling, and these are the bling pieces I'm using. These blingies. Just kind of randomly putting them. Okay, let me show you guys. Can you guys see the bling? Okay, now I'm just going around here and filling in where I might not have put hot glue before. Okay, now I'm going to take some of this rosette and pearl trim from the store. This is what it looks like. I'm going to put some here at the bottom. I like this little rosette and pearl trim. It's really dainty, really feminine. Now, can any of you find my scissors? Okay. Okay. Here we go. I'm adding it here where the top and the skirt meet to cover whatever part I didn't cover with rosette trim. Okay, and I will possibly add some here too. I'm gonna add one to her wrist so it looks like it's a little bracelet. Okay, I got hot glue strings coming out of everywhere. You guys see? I added it here, here, and on her wrist. I have this blingy crown from my stash that I'm going to give to her. Let's see. Okay, we're almost done, guys. Okay. Now, if you guys have been following my craftiness, you all know that I love incorporating a hint of gold on all my projects. So I'm going to be using Liquitex Basics Gold. Just a tad bit of gold. Just kind of randomly. Okay. Now let me heat set that. I like to put the heat tool on my metallic paints a lot because they bubble up, and I really like the texture they give when they bubble up. Almost done. Just gonna spray over the part of the rosettes over with some of my homemade color spray, just to give it that little extra me touch. There we go. That's the fabulous part about these white trims and rosettes, that you can always change their color to match whatever project you're working on. So there we have it. She is all dressed up and ready to go. And the beautiful thing about these big white chiffon rosettes is that they have a lovely sparkly dark edge. Okay, my crafty friends, she is all done and ready to go. There we go. Better. Okay. She's all done. So, do you guys have any comments or any questions or anything like that before we um, head out? Don't forget that there's a class tomorrow, again here on the Gone Artsy Ustream channel, and that's our regularly scheduled program. And if you haven't done so yet, I also have a challenge going over at the Gone Artsy challenge page, where I am challenging you crafty people to create your own stencils and create a beautiful piece of art with it. One lucky person will be selected and will win a $10 gift certificate to the Gone Artsy exhibit shop. So I created my two stencils. These are my two stencils, my butterflies and my girl image. And this is watercolor paper. The front was completely covered with packing tape, as well as the back. And then I cut out my image. Same process was done to both stencils. And I did create a mixed media page to that effect. And this is what my art piece look like. Like this one. So don't forget to join us and take me up on my challenge for a chance to win that yummy $10 gift certificate to the Gone Artsy exhibit shop. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'll call it a finished project. So don't forget, guys, tomorrow's Ustream class is our regularly scheduled class, and join the challenge. So you have a chance to win the $10 gift certificate. Okay. So thank you, ladies, and everybody who stopped by and joined me in today's Ustream class. I had a lot of fun creating this beautiful piece of art using some of the beautiful goodies from the exhibit shop. So if you guys take me up on my challenge, you can use your certificate towards purchasing some of these beautiful items that I used in today's shop. So with that said, let me show you guys one more time the original inspiration piece. And again, for those of you who would like to get this image of this girl, please send me a message on Facebook and give me your email address, and I will gladly um, send it out to you as soon as possible. Okay, so till next time, guys, happy crafting, and don't be scared to think outside the box and create beautiful pieces of art.